Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. My name is Lee Carroll, and I am a channeler. I am a woo-woo guy, and I've been asked to address you, and I wasn't going to, but I thought, hey, why not? Even if I'm strange, they're willing to listen. And so I'm doing that very thing, and it has to do with perhaps something that you'd like to know about that we have been seeing in our, what you say, spiritual industry, or for a long time, even something that's been predicted by the indigenous, a change of consciousness. Now, before you turn me out and tune me out, my degree is in economics. So that's my first degree. And so I kind of relate to investors, and I'm an investor myself, and I deal with this kind of thing. So I'm going to ask you to listen to me, and you be the judge of whether or not it was valuable or not. Here is the premise. There is a shift of consciousness going on, and it's not just in America, it's on the whole planet, which is not a temporary thing. It's not a fad. Call it whatever you want. I'll call it New World thinking. Now, I told you it was foretold by the indigenous of the planet. It was. This is what this whole Mayan calendar thing was about. And if you analyze it, that is the whole premise, that there would come a time when consciousness would start to, awaken, grow up. And the part of it that you'd be interested in is that it's going to affect everything. And I would say the leading indicator is integrity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a fantasy to look at. This is something that has not happened yet, but I want you to peer at it with me. It's a fake story, it's a metaphor, it's whatever you want to call it, and here it is. Let's have a presidential debate. And that presidential debate is going to be with two candidates, and they're going to go on TV, and maybe it's even the first time, although that would seem impossible. So people don't really expect what's going to happen. It could be men or women, that doesn't matter in this debate. And the first person to talk says, here's why I want you to vote for me. First of all, you've got somebody running against me who is not worthy to do that. After all, you saw the record, you saw what we presented, we discovered they actually smoked marijuana when they're 17. They did like 2 months in jail, and then they still weren't out of the woods. They misbehaved and this and that. And then a few times later, and when they got into politics in their local thing, here's what they voted for. You don't want somebody like that, do you? And in addition, they had a divorce. And, and on and on. And at the end, they say, and I'm so-and-so, and I endorse this. You've been there. And so the next person gets up, and that person says, I would like you to know the person who just was here. And everybody holds their breath, expecting, the same thing. And the person says, that person you just heard is a wonderful person. They're a wonderful candidate. I'm so glad that I get to run against somebody who's a patriot and loves the country as much as I do. And then they go on to say, and they did this, and they did this, and here's their record. And then they go on and say, I think I can do as good a job or better because I've got some ideas that are new. I'd like to lead this country into that. Thank you. Okay, you got the picture. Now, there's two reactions to that. There would be right now. And the reactions, one would be, wow, that second person was just too nice. So I don't want that person. There's no strength there. They can't lead they're apologetic or whatever. That's a perception. And the other reaction, I don't care what their party is. This is the person I want to lead my country. Somebody who can compromise and somebody who respects the other side. We might actually get some stuff done. All right. Why do I give you a political example? Because shareholders vote with their pocketbook. They're just like politics, folks. They're looking at the same kinds of things. They are judging the leadership. All right. Is this a reality that I just gave you or not? I'll tell you, it's going to be. Maybe not to that extent, but someday it might be. Shareholders, voters are going to look for integrity instead of the guy who will put the other person under the bus. We saw this one time in our country, and I want to remind you of it, because things are happening right now to start to echo that. Talk about, do you remember, I'm old enough to remember tobacco companies and cigarette commercials on the air and in magazines and all. There's $1 billion or more. And when we found out that those companies were addicting us, even though they knew that tobacco and cigarette smoking caused cancer, and what they were then attempting to do with a cartoon was to get our kids addicted, did you see the result? It wiped out tobacco basically in America. They're still here, folks, but they are now selling tobacco mostly to Europe and the rest of the world. So that was the beginning of non-smoking sections, and now you have less smokers than before, a lot less. In fact, smoking is a minority, and it's getting smaller all the time. And that's why. That was an integrity issue. It wasn't even a medical issue. It was an integrity issue. When the war started this year, this war we have, when it started this year, did you see something happen that you didn't expect? This is not your grandfather's world, folks. Did you see it? Normally, when you have something like this, the countries separate with East and West, like they did in World War I, World War II, and any world war. The same players get on the same sides, back the same play. It's all over again. This time, even Switzerland was not neutral. In other words, there was a sweep of integrity where the whole earth and almost all of the countries, except for a few, who were just laying back and waiting for safety, said, we don't want this. This is not right. This can't happen. That's a first. That should tell you everything. Integrity is starting to make a difference. The Me Too movement, how long has that been going on? You know, all of your life, your grandfather's life, his grandfather's life, and suddenly it starts to change. Integrity, treatment of women, all of these things are starting to move consciousness on this planet. Now, there's going to be something that is starting. If you haven't already heard it, I'll give it a name. Conscious capitalism. It's not just doing good things. What charities are the corporations supporting? That's not it. It's going to react to heart-based organizations, heart-based corporations making money, being capitalist, but heart-based, judged by their internal actions. How do they treat their people? What are their policies in the workplace? All of that, and with us. People are going to start looking for that because they know that's going to be the new success. Will it work? I think people are going to demand it eventually. You may say, well, it's not here yet. One of the reasons I'm talking to you is because you're futurists, all of you. You're looking at investing. So I'm saying people will eventually demand it. They're going to recognize an older way. They're going to see it, and they're not going to be interested. Like that debate that I just gave you, just like tobacco. They're going to recognize an older thing where people just lie their way out of things or say what they're expected to say. I'm a channeler. I give predictions, among other things, because things are kind of laying in what we call the field. Hard to describe to you what the field is, but say it's the ethers, things that are hanging out there that you kind of sense are happening. And here's one of them. Now, this will fly against almost everything I was taught in economics. You don't have to own the world or diverse into unrelated things or boost the bottom line. We were always told it had to be bigger. And the bigger you could get, the more the market share. And I'm saying that's going to be the old way. It's better to stay with what you do best, make it smaller, but just do better at what you do. Bigger is not necessarily better. Getting too big may bring dysfunction, and it will bring the corporation down. Now, I said it, so a good market share is good enough. You don't have to have the biggest market share. And I've just said dirty words to a lot of corporate leaders. You may see it, are you ready? With Amazon. That's what the prediction is. The bigger it gets, the more dysfunction it'll get. It'll be big. Yeah, it's coming. Prediction 2. Large inappropriate pharma will fall. Keeping people sick and dying for money will be exposed like tobacco. The common unspoken practice right now is wait for the amortization schedules to be fulfilled or a patent completed to end a product. Meanwhile, don't release the known cure. You think that's going to fly? It's going to be exposed. That's coming too. It's all about integrity. Someday, there may even be a law against that very thing in the pharma industry. We'll call it the Unconscionable Drug Act, perhaps. It's all coming. All of this to say that this is not your grandfather's market. It's not your grandfather's world anymore. Change is happening. I think it's going to affect everything. There, I've said it. Thanks for listening.